Hi, it's Tootie Tagerly coming to you after a hiatus of some weeks on Tuesday, close to noon from San Francisco, California, which is rainy today, but maybe perfect for the start. So, I'm going to share with you today leadership insights from McKinsey and the Lean In organization's recent report, which is the 2022 Women in the Workplace report. They've been doing this for some years, which is lots of surveys and work with different companies to get some really fantastic learnings. And it's a report that has been on my to-do list for a couple of weeks and finally gone in through that. So wanted to share four top insights from the report, including my stories that I've heard from my own research and people I've coached, and what to do about it, both as an individual woman and what management can do about it. So one of the things that the book or the report really calls out is this broken first rung problem. So think about your career as a ladder that you climb and kind of go up and climb. And we don't have to talk right now if this is the ladder you want to climb or if this is the right wall that the ladder's leaning against. Let's just imagine it's a corporate world, women in the workplace, and women want to climb this ladder, which of course we do. I mean, many people want to. That's why you want to work to get some professional success. So, the broken first rung problem talks about the fact that women lose the most ground in that transition from being an individual contributor to a first level manager. Because from the data, for every 100 men promoted, 87 women are promoted. And of those, it's 82 women of color. This is really hard. And the problem is when you lose ground, most ground in this first rung, there's going to be fewer and fewer women for the top levels, for the directors, for the VPs, for the C suite. And what to do about this broken first rung problems? I think there's two parts of it. One, as a woman I see looking to break into management, part of it is learning self-advocacy, to ask your bosses, your leaders for what you want, that this is the roles that you want, and to do things such as start, if possible, playing the role, playing the title before you actually have it. So for example, you're like, "Wait, how could I start managing when I don't have people? I don't have that authority." Yeah, well, things that you can do is you could request perhaps to work with an intern. You could start informally mentoring or helping someone else in the team. It could be someone who has less experience than you. It could be a new grad. It could be someone who wants to learn skills that you have. You can start trying to do these as a manager, both to prove that you are capable and worthy of it, and maybe even more importantly, to use this as a sense of experiment for yourself to be, is this something that I like? Because for many women, and I've done this in the research for my upcoming book on Asian American women leaders, for many women, and especially Asian American women, we put our heads down, we do the work. It's not comfortable to advocate for ourselves. We hope that if we do the work, someone's going to see it, a manager or someone else, and help us, because it's hard to self advocate. It feels like bragging. Yeah, a lot there. I will be offering in January a repeat course that I've done before called Lead with Space to Succeed, which has cohorts of high powered, like either first level line managers or people who want to break into management. And most of the time, it's majority women spaces, and it'll help teach you some of these skills. And for leaders, when you see this problem, what you can do is you can track your stats. You can monitor, is this actually happening in my organization? You can be very, very mindful that when you are putting up people for promotion, that you are equally putting up men as well as women. And then you can watch what happens at the other end, what happens with the outcomes. Let's say you put up 3 women and 3 men for promotion. What was the outcome? Did all 6 get the promotion? Did 3 of them do? What was the gender mixture for that? The first step for change is always to monitor and see what was happening. All right. Next point from the McKinsey Women in the Workplace report is that in a phenomenon that they call the Great Breakup, more women leaders are leaving companies right now. And to really amplify, to really hit home what this means, it really is that right now, today, for every woman director who gets promoted to the next level, 2 women directors choose to reach the company, choose to leave the company. And it's crazy. This is the highest rate it's been in years. Why? So women don't want to deal with the continual microaggressions anymore. Might realize after years of living in a pandemic that it's just simply not worth it, and we'd rather spend time with our children, our loved ones, do our own work, and not deal with this corporate ladder. Women have been dealing with colleagues who might imply that you're not qualified for the job. Perhaps we think that gender or being a parent has really gotten women passed over for promotions. And then finally, another thing that I hear and see with a lot of my research for Hardworking Rebels, my book on Asian American women leaders, is that women really care a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion work. It's work that we want to do, but it's extra work. It's work that we do on top of our regular jobs. And this is on top of perhaps housekeeping tasks that are given. Say, hey, would you mind taking the meeting minutes? Would you mind doing this? Many women do this. But what it means is that there's overwork, there's stress, especially if you're taking care of children at home as well. So why do women leave more? Because of this overwork with little or no recognition. So women, I don't really have a lot of advice for this. You got to do what you need to do for your life, for your children, for your family, for your desires, for your loved ones. If you can leave, great. More power for you, more power. Leaders, we've been in this world of DEI for a bit now. And one question is, do you really want to fix this problem? Is it a business imperative to fix this problem? Or are you simply checking the boxes on the DEI initiatives? Because all the low-hanging fruit has been garnered. Yeah, the ERGs have been set up, some of the budgets have been allocated, but now it's time for the hard work because, damn, this data is shocking. All right, let's move on. Maybe there is point number 4 has more optimism. Point number 3, intersectionality amplifies the bias. What this means is that many women experience bias not only because of their gender, but because of gender plus something else, race, sexual orientation, a disability, other aspect of your identity. And the compounded discrimination is much greater than the sum of its parts. The report calls out some really interesting data that women of color are more ambitious. 41% of women of color want to be top executives compared with 27% of white women. Latinas and Black women are less likely than women of other races and ethnicities to report that their manager supports their career development. Ouch. They also experience less psychological safety. Asian women and Black women are less likely to have strong allies on their teams. And they're also less likely than white women to say that senior colleagues have taken sponsorship actions on their behalf, such as praising their skills or advocating for compensation increases. Latinas and Asian women are also more likely than women of other races and ethnicities to have colleagues comment on your culture or your nationality. Now, in my research, I've heard so many people say, who speak English really well, have someone say to them, "Oh my gosh, your English is so good. You have such a great vocabulary." Would you say that to a white woman? And then also the perennial question, where are you from? I can't say San Francisco. I can't say California. It's like, no, no, no. Where are you really from? Kind of these questions a lot. So women who are experiencing this intersectionality, if you feel like it's harder, yeah, it's true. It is harder. The data shows it. Yay, data. You're not crazy. Your gut is right. And then colleagues look at this data and recognize just the depth of the headwinds. There's a concept that one of my brilliant friends, a PhD in neuroscience named Irene Salter, first shared with me is this concept of headwinds and tailwinds. As people in the overculture, you got a lot of tailwinds. It's like the tailwinds that are propelling an airplane forward. You've got a lot of tailwinds from being born into particular socioeconomic class, from being born into a particular race, from being born into a particular gender. You have a lot of tailwinds propelling you. And then in contrast, women, the women who are stopping out are facing a lot of headwinds. There's these tiny, tiny microaggressions. Each one is so tiny. But when you think about hearing it all the time, it's yet another headwind. And then being someone who has to deal with this intersectionality, the headwinds are really amplified. So yeah, it's harder. It's true. And we have options. All right, I'm going to end with the fourth that's going to bring us up a little bit more, which is, yeah, it's really hard to work remotely, and working remotely is a really great equalizer for some of this work, for some of this diversity, equity, and inclusion work, for some of women's rights. In the McKinsey Leadership 2022 Women in the Workplace report, some of the data says only 1 in 10 women wants to work on site. Many women point to having remote and hybrid work options as their top reasons for joining or staying with an organization. Because in a remote work scenario, there are many, many fewer microaggressions. You get to hide behind the safety of a screen. There is much more psychological safety when you are in your house. Wearing your sweatpants on the bottom and nice top and earrings on the top. There's much more control and psychological safety around it. As I've been doing my research, talking to a number of different Asian American women, I spoke to a woman last week who has primarily been working in Zoom, and she's a petite stature. Women are generally smaller. Asian women even small. I think she's 5'2", and she had been running meetings with her team and the other executives at the company over Zoom for the majority of the pandemic. For the first time, she's been going into the office, into her New York office. And as she walks around meeting each of the colleagues, the first thing that everyone says is, "Oh my gosh, you're so much smaller than I expected." Because our implicit bias wants to have this vision of a leader as someone who's tall, someone who has a large physical presence, which definitely gives many, many tailwinds to a certain type of race, gender, and physical attributes of a certain type of person. So, remote work, yes, awesome, amazing equalizer, uh, despite all the other things that it brings. All right, that's it for today. Sharing leadership insights from the McKinsey and leanin.org 2022 Women in the Workplace report. 4 things: up the career ladder. The most broken step is the first rung because fewer women are promoted to first level manager. In this great breakup, more women leaders are leaving their companies because, damn it, it's too much. If you've got multiple things going on, race and disability and gender, oh, that was 3. But the intersectionality amplifies the bias and makes it harder. And then finally, remote work, the great equalizer. That's it for today. Read the report. I will put the link in the description. That would make a lot of sense. And I will see you very soon in my next live. All right. Bye for